10 years ago, we applaud countries for sheltering victims of war and chaos. Today, those same countries are processing hundreds of thousands of removals annually.
Our immigration system is not just broken, it is hurting our country.
Germany alone admitted over 1 million refugees, largely Syrians. The European Union was hosting over 20 million non-EU immigrants. The US still hosts the world's largest undocumented population. And yes, Filipinos are part of these numbers. There are millions of Filipinos in the United States, and while most are documented, thousands fall into irregular status due to overstaying, work violations, and employer-related issues. There are recorded cases of Filipinos detained at ports of entry, placed in secondary inspection, or held in immigration detention. Many of these workers, including Filipinos, entered legally but lost status when contracts ended or employers abused the system. So where does this leave Filipinos? As the years passed, numbers accumulated and systems strained. In Germany alone, hundreds of thousands of asylum cases remain pending at any given time. In France and the United Kingdom, migrant housing and social services reached breaking points. It began grappling with gang violence, with police identifying dozens of organized criminal networks, many concentrated in migrant-dense areas. Shootings and explosions became national security issues, not just criminal statistics. Governments stopped dealing with individuals and start dealing with the risk profiles. Detentions increased, removals accelerated, and here is where fear spread even among the documented. That is the undocumented truth.
She's not just a big star out of Cebu. She's the most proficient, most viral, and most relevant political social media voice ever produced by the Visayas. A lawyer, a city treasurer, and a woman who proved that truth, when spoken with courage, can move millions. Atty. Regal Oliva is not a product of influence. She built it from the ground up. From transforming Mandawi City's tax collection from 650 million pesos to 3.4 billion pesos, to serving as president of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines Cebu City Chapter, she has spent her life inside government, not protecting power, but holding it accountable. But Regal's fight goes beyond politics. She is a proud LGBTQ community champion, one of the first openly trans leaders in Philippine government. As IBP Cebu City President, she fought for inclusion in legal spaces that once shut people like her out, proving that representation isn't just visibility, it's leadership. Her courage opened doors for countless others to live authentically and to see that dignity and service have no gender. Raw, intelligent, unafraid. Regal POV isn't just commentary, it's conviction. It's where law meets leadership and empathy meets impact. In a world where most choose silence, she speaks, not to impress, but to awaken. She's a lawyer who turns legal jargon into common sense, a public servant who proves that integrity still has an audience, and a woman who reminds us that good governance isn't a theory, it's a daily fight. This is Atty. Regal Oliva, the voice that cut through the noise, the conscience that built a community, and the courage that turned into a movement. And today, Regal POV is proudly PGMN.
In 2015, almost 10 years ago, there was a quiet competition among first world countries, a moral race on who could welcome the most immigrants, refugees, and asylum seekers. At that time, Europe was facing what was called the refugee crisis. By 2015 to 2016, over 1.3 million asylum applications were filed in the European Union in a single year, most coming from Syria, Afghanistan, and Iraq, countries devastated by war, terrorism, and state collapse. Noong panahong iyon, halos taboo ang magsalita ng deportation.
Almost 2 years to the day of the start of the Syrian crisis, the 1 million mark has been reached.
Today we have registered 1 million Syrian refugees in the countries around.
Germany alone admitted over 1 million refugees, largely Syrians.
Last year, more than 160,000 migrants fleeing war in the Middle East ended up in Sweden, a country of only 9.5 million people. That's the highest number of refugees per capita in Europe.
Sweden accepted over 160,000 asylum seekers in 1 year, making it one of the highest per capita recipients in Europe.
Next tonight, the asylum system in the UK is now facing its biggest backlog ever. Over 160,000 people are waiting for a decision on their claim, and most of those have been waiting for more than 6 months. Well, the Home Office says it does have a plan to try to speed up some applications.
The United Kingdom processed hundreds of thousands of asylum claims during that period.
We return to politics now as lawmakers on Capitol Hill begin to discuss ways to address the estimated 11 million undocumented immigrants living in the United States.
Our immigration system is not just broken, it is hurting our country.
The United States, meanwhile, was home to an estimated 11 million undocumented immigrants.
$533 million will go towards humanitarian assistance for people in the Lake Chad region, Nigeria, South Sudan, Somalia, and Ethiopia,
while also expanding humanitarian programs. Even Japan, traditionally strict, loosened labor entry through its technical intern training program.
Foreign workers have become a valuable asset in Japan amid the country's severe labor shortage,
bringing in hundreds of thousands of foreign workers, particularly from Vietnam, China, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and the Philippines, to address labor shortages. Back then, compassion was policy currency. Borders were moral tests. Countries were praised for being open. But history did not freeze in 2015. As the years passed, numbers accumulated and systems strained. By the early 2020s, the European Union was hosting over 20 million non-EU immigrants with asylum backlogs stretching for years. In Germany alone, hundreds of thousands of asylum cases remain pending at any given time. In France and the United Kingdom, migrant housing and social services reached breaking points. Sa Sweden, the narrative shifted sharply.
As the world continues to try to deal with refugees from Iraq and Syria, Sweden has established itself as the most generous nation in Europe.
From being a model of openness, it began grappling with gang violence, with police identifying dozens of organized criminal networks, many concentrated in migrant-dense areas. Shootings and explosions became national security issues, not just criminal statistics. In France, police records began linking parts of street crime, pickpocketing rings, theft syndicates, and drug distribution to organized groups operating across borders. In Germany, authorities acknowledged challenges in integration, including the emergence of parallel communities. And in the United Kingdom, illegal channel crossing surged, tens of thousands annually, while enforcement against illegal work and benefit fraud intensified. Hindi lahat ng immigrants kriminal. Importante yan. But when numbers become large, governments stop dealing with individuals and start dealing with the risk profiles. And then the debate widened from crime to culture and religion. Across Europe, demographic data showed rapid growth of Muslim migrant populations, particularly in urban centers. Cities with historically Christian cultural identities suddenly experienced visible religious and cultural transformation. Hindi ito usapin ng faith versus faith. It became an issue of pace. How fast change happened versus how slow integration systems involved. Public discomfort grew around cultural practices perceived as incompatible with local laws, tensions over women's rights and public norms, fears, sometimes exaggerated, of radicalization, and politics responded. By the mid-2020s, Europe had pivoted. The European Union Migration and Asylum Pact prioritized faster border screening and quicker deportations. Returns were no longer whispered. They were legislated. Now look at the United States. The US still hosts the world's largest undocumented population, around 11 million people, including large communities from Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, and most recently, Venezuela, Haiti, Cuba, and Nicaragua. But enforcement hardened, detentions increased, removals accelerated, and here is where fear spread even among the documented. There are now documented cases of lawful permanent residents, green card holders, being detained upon returning to the US after travel abroad, questioned over past convictions, technical violations, or admissibility grounds, and in some cases placed in removal proceedings. Sa madaling salita, a green card is not citizenship, it is conditional residency. And yes, Filipinos are part of these numbers. There are millions of Filipinos in the United States, and while most are documented, thousands fall into irregular status due to overstaying, work violations, and employer-related issues.
Philippine Ambassador to the United States, Jose Manuel Babe Romualdez, says that quite a number of undocumented Filipinos in the U.S. have been detained and processed for deportation.
There are recorded cases of Filipinos detained at ports of entry, placed in secondary inspection, or held in immigration detention. Now let's talk about Japan, because Japan has always been data-driven, not sentimental. Japan hosts over 3 million foreign residents, yet approves only a tiny fraction of asylum applications annually, often less than 1%. Overstaying, even by technical interns, leads swiftly to detention and deportation. Many of these workers, including Filipinos, entered legally but lost status when contracts ended or employers abused the system. Sa Japan, walang gray area. Status lost means enforcement triggered. Now let's step back and look at the trend. 10 years ago, deportation was politically toxic. Today, deportation is framed as necessary governance. 10 years ago, we applaud countries for sheltering victims of war and chaos. Today, those same countries are processing hundreds of thousands of removals annually. Ang pendulum ay hindi lang umikot, bumaliktad ito ng 180 degrees. So where does this leave Filipinos? Filipinos migrate to work, not to dominate demographics. Yet undocumented Filipinos exist, overstaying, misclassified, trapped in abusive contracts. At kapag dumating ang enforcement wave,
providing legal assistance in partnership with the DFA dun sa 6 na naaresto at kasalukuyan nakadetain. They were arrested about 5 days ago, where there was dental services rendered, where the allegation is illegal yung dental services at illegal yung employment.
Walang exemption. Expired visa becomes detention. Airport questioning becomes removal proceedings. Even lawful residents feel unsafe traveling. Under Republic Act 8042, as amended by Republic Act 10022, the Philippine state promises protection to overseas Filipinos, but that promise has limits. Hindi kayang i-override ng Pilipinas ang immigration laws ng US, EU, UK o Japan. Protection means assistance, not immunity. And here lies the hardest data point of all. Millions of Filipinos depend on migration.
Why do women, if they're aware of a potential danger that they could face, why do they still keep leaving the Philippines and choosing to work abroad?
It's because the primary reasons for them wanting to go abroad, which is to say poverty, really, economic reasons, they have not been resolved at home. Unemployment rate, inflation, they're all quite bad currently in the Philippines, as they have been in previous years. And the institutionalization as well of the kind of labor export system has kind of incentivized people to think that, oh, there might be better working conditions.
But global tolerance for irregular migration is shrinking. So if the world is closing borders, the Philippine response must evolve. Better documentation, legal literacy, real reintegration jobs. Because hope is not a visa, numbers do not bend to compassion. And yesterday's openness is not today's policy. That is the undocumented truth. Another day, another Regal POV. This is Regal Mendoza Oliva for PGMN.